Stop with the questions. Celebrate.
And then they say, is Donald Trump an intellectual? Trust me, I'm like a smart person. Yosemite's one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy.
Amazing.
He can't sit down. He's got a burning in his butthole. He's got a fire. He's got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Big, massive dumps.
Oh, I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
Somebody sent me a thing this morning where they're talking about putting the vaccine into salad dressing.
You see, this is a simple meme that you would find on the internet, but this meme is very real.
You ain't seen nothing yet until you see the flaming butthole.
Putting us on our knees to China.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
Sexual anarchy.
Oh my God! He admitted it!
Wet ass keyword.
Around the nation. Waldorf Nation. TGIF, everybody. It's Friday. Gonna have a great show. All right, so we're gonna have some fun. We have, of course, scandals. DeSantis, disaster. Fun for everyone. We have, oh, look at that. A Fox host, right-winger, defending a case of grooming. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Then we actually have a good Republican. What? No, I'm not kidding. We actually have a Republican that defends trans children. I am, again, this is going to be a great feel-good story, especially since this person has received significant backlash. So we're talking about that. And then we have Texas. Texas Republicans might impeach Ken Paxton. What is going on here today? What? All right. So anyway, we're going to have fun. We've got some good stories, some, corruption, of course. But we're going to start out with Ron DeSantis doing some damage control. Oh boy. Now, before we get into it, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Again, helps us out greatly. With that, let's dive into our first story.
I'm actually not a big social media guy. I do more. I would rather watch you than be on some app.
That was Florida Governor Ron DeSantis doing a bit of damage control. That was one day after DeSantis was hilariously ridiculed for his failure to launch on Twitter. That's his presidential campaign, by the way, with Elon Musk. And, well, you saw him. He went on Newsmax the next day, as well as on Fox News, to downplay the disaster that was his campaign launch. First, I'm going to show you what he said to Newsmax host Eric Bolling.
Well, they were very confident that they had the ability to get a lot of people, and they were anticipating a lot of people, but there were more people that tried to sign up than even what Twitter had anticipated. I was just in a room in Florida, so I didn't really know necessarily what was going on, and so I think it had to do with Elon's account. They called an audible, and then they were able to get it done. But I think what happened with it was because Elon was involved, Twitter was involved, we got way more play about it than we would have if I just would have given a speech. And I would have asked them to have maybe more capacity and say maybe we'll get even more people, but I would not have traded doing a speech. I think that this has been something that a lot of people are talking about, and I think that it's something that as we go forward, we need to be able to speak directly to people, and that's what we did.
No, you see, everything turned out great. I mean, I didn't know what was going on, but it turns out there's just so many people. Yes, so many people that were clamoring to get in. So now, I think yesterday I said that, there was like 600,000? No, it turns out that was basically, they got pretty close to that, I think, for a couple minutes until it crashed. But generally, it was actually around 250,000. And look, DeSantis has been doing this weird thing claiming that, Twitter video impressions of this, we're 22 million. 22 million. Well, it turns out that the metrics here on Twitter, if you view a video for 2 seconds, that counts as a video view. So basically, if you're scrolling along your feed, for 2 seconds, that video pops up because it's autoplay, that counts as a view. Massively, wildly inflated numbers. And then claiming, all those people trying to get in the Twitter space. It just shows that there's so much interest in that campaign. No, that's actually not it at all. There were plenty more people that were doing online events that got way more people than Ron DeSantis. And they had a lot fewer errors. Again, disaster. Complete and utter disaster. That said, so he goes on and he defends this decision and doesn't realize that he's been memed into the sun. I'm not kidding. Donald Trump was on True Social obliterating him. I mean, but by the way, more important than the dunks here is the overall impression that people got. And that would be the fact that if he cannot run a campaign announcement, how the hell is a guy going to run the country? Exactly. Now, that said, apparently Ron DeSantis donors kind of played it off. In fact, at a fundraiser Thursday night, Politico reported that many attendees at a DeSantis fundraiser, so let's be honest about where it's at, dismissed concerns over DeSantis' fumbled launch, and polls showing the governor trailing by large margins nationally and early nominating states. Now, here's one former Pennsylvania Representative Lou Barletta, who is a DeSantis supporter. Quote, polls right now really mean nothing. The polls, they don't really matter. I mean, polls don't matter. It's, who can continue to raise money to stay in the race. Yes, it's all about money. It's all about money. Oh, what does money buy? Money buys television. It buys advertising, essentially. So it buys you airtime. Donald Trump's so much of a clown, and he's entertaining, by the way, that he gets all the free publicity and airtime that he could ever want. Ron DeSantis, well, he's going to have to rely on more donors to compete with that. Not only that, but Donald Trump has a much, much better media organization. I know it sounds like I'm for Donald Trump or something like that. No, not really. I'm just pointing out facts. He does have a much more competent, I know, weird, right? Media team. That's how he was able to meme Ron DeSantis into the sun. So, but anyway, that said, apparently they're going to rely on donors that were formerly Trump donors going over to DeSantis and basically pumping all the money into his campaign so that he can get out ads. So now that said, to continue with Barletta, he says, I believe the polls right now will not reflect what they'll look like months from now. Well, the polls right now are pretty bad. So why don't we go to some of those? This just happened a couple of days ago, and We don't know if there's going to be like a campaign bump as a result, and so we have to wait for further polling. But just a couple of days ago, a poll in Quinnipiac came out, and a head-to-head matchup between Trump and DeSantis, Trump gained an even bigger lead, 61 to 32% among Republican and Republican-leaning voters, compared to a previous poll in late March that showed DeSantis at 42% and Trump at 52%. So Trump gets an even bigger lead. No, it's over. It's over. It's over. Now, that said, of course, that's my opinion. And, of course, you have the opinion of his supporters and donors, which are, a pretty biased source of information. So let's go, to be fair, let's go to some people that might not be biased towards Ron DeSantis or specifically against him. So Iowa primary voters. Now, they were recently having a town hall for Tim Scott, who was another Republican running for the nomination. He held a town hall in Iowa, and Politico went and decided to ask some people about, hey, did you hear about Ron DeSantis' terrible Twitter campaign announcement? One of them said, I knew what was going to happen today on Twitter, but I'm not a Twitter follower. Now, he's 63 years old. Another one who was younger, 30-year-old, who was interested in hearing Tim Scott speak, said, no, I didn't hear about it. But Twitter, no, nobody's on Twitter. 50-year-old substitute teacher said, I just heard that he did, and that it kept stalling or whatever. When asked what news that would mean for DeSantis' campaign, she replied, it might mean that a lot of people were very interested. So, yeah, it looks like she bought the drink the Kool-Aid on that one, the party line. There was a 65-year-old UPS union steward who voted for Trump in 2020, who did admit it was a fumble. It was a fumble by his campaign. Now, this guy who voted for Trump said he wanted to find a fresh face, in who to vote for in the primary this time. So, look, I don't know. Maybe I'm too terminally online. Or maybe I'm putting too much stock in a few of the 300 Iowa primary voters at a Tim Scott event. I don't know. What I do know is that younger voters are a huge demographic. Younger voters tend to be more tech savvy and online. It's, tend to be more. And we do also know that Republicans, or not just Republicans, but a lot of people tend to ignore some of the, issues, mistakes, whatever, made by a campaign. So I don't know. But what I do know is that Donald Trump won the last primary in 2016 because he was able to out-meme and bully everyone. He's really good at it. He Donkey Konged everyone into submission. DeSantis, DeSantis is not able to do that. And that's not the kind of campaign that he's running. His campaign is basically running on the fact that he has done all this fashy stuff in Florida. Now, the right-wing base loves that stuff. Going after trans people, going after gay people, going after critical race theory and all the buzzwords that Christopher Rufo came up with, just to say that, we hate education, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I know it's still early, but I don't think Ron DeSantis has a chance. I mean, when you botch your own campaign rollout and you refuse to fight Trump, who's like constantly dunking on you online, that doesn't bode well. And also at the end of the day, we got to remember that Ron DeSantis is not a good governor. I mean, has he done anything in Florida to really make anyone's lives better? Cut taxes for corporations. Ooh. And he's also in the middle of doing a lot of corruption. And look, just one day after his announcement, DeSantis signed a bill to shield none other than Elon Musk and other space flight companies, private ones, of course, from being sued for accidents that could injure or kill crew members. So, you're not allowing people who have been victimized by these giant corporations to be able to sue to get restitution. Wait, weren't you for doing that if someone was harmed by the vaccine that you didn't like? Rather curious that you would allow this, these companies to be shielded, to have immunity from, lawsuits. Just one day after you made a nice campaign announcement, well, I should say not really a nice one, but a botched campaign announcement on the platform of Elon Musk. Weird. What happened to taking on the big corporations? Oh, it turns out you only want to take on corporations if you think they're woke. Of course. Okay. Moving on. We have more DeSantis stuff. According to a new report, staffers for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis have been soliciting donations to his presidential campaign from lobbyists with business before the governor. This is while the state budget is sitting on his desk that he has line item veto power over. So let me explain. A new report from NBC News' Matt Dixon and Jonathan Allen said that these staffers who work directly for the governor's official taxpayer-funded office and agencies, not for his campaign, have been soliciting donations from lobbyists on DeSantis' behalf. Their activity, notes Dixon and Allen, is a breach of traditional norms that has raised ethical and legal questions and left many in the state capitol shocked. Well, I'm not shocked. Not shocked at all. Now, according to the report, 4 separate DeSantis administration officials, including those directly in the governor's office and leadership positions in state agencies, sent text messages to lobbyists requesting a contribution to DeSantis's federal presidential campaign account using a bundle program link, which tracked who helped secure the donation. The lobbyists who received the text messages showed them to NBC News, and the reporters did not name the individual DeSantis staffers because they believed that might reveal the identities of the lobbyists who had shared them. The bottom line, one longtime Florida lobbyist told NBC News, is that the administration appears to be keeping tabs on who is giving and who, and are doing it using state staff. Quote, "You are in a prisoner's dilemma. They are going to remain in power. We all understand that." So understand what's going on here. Okay. You have the governor who has line item veto power over all the stuff in the Florida state budget, having his staffers sending out donation links to these lobbyists who have business before the Florida legislature. Now, look, the legislative session it's already over. The budget is on DeSantis' desk as we speak. And he hasn't signed it yet. Probably because he's waiting to see who's going to give money. And if you don't give money, if you're not doing pay to play, then, it looks like your special pork project, that's not, not going to happen. Not going to happen. Sorry. You just didn't pay. You didn't pay the toll. It's corruption. It's corruption. So, again, Florida law grants the governor veto power over the state budget. This is Swamp 101. Swamp 101. Now, Dixon and Allen noted that DeSantis' office did not respond to a request for comment, but they did get a text message back from one administration official who acknowledged that Team EOG, the executive office of the governor, was engaged in raising money and said that I and many other staff personally donated. Well, it's fine if you personally donate. Are you using state taxpayer-funded resources? Are you doing it on the clock? And again, are you going and trying to solicit money from lobbyists who have business in the state budget? Now, look, aside from the terrible ethics here, this could be illegal, a violation of the law, if the staffers were not careful to use their own personal phones and send messages when they were off the clock from their taxpayer-funded employment. At a minimum, even if they were sitting at their home at 9 p.m., using their personal phone and contacting lobbyists that they somehow magically met in their personal capacity and not through their role in the governor's office, it still, according to a longtime Florida elections law attorney, says it smells yucky. Well, I mean, yeah. You could say that. There's a misuse of public position here, issue here that is obvious to anyone paying attention. Now, look, Republican primary voters who are pro DeSantis, you think they're going to pay attention? No. You know who might be paying attention? Funny enough, it could be Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who's personally corrupt in 100 different ways. Well, this might give him some ammunition. We could definitely see that. Corrupt Ron DeSantis trying to get money. I don't take money from lobby, even though he does. And he definitely will. Doesn't matter. Donald Trump, this is going to be a probably pretty big attack that we might see from the Trump team. I'm interested to see. Again, this is just a breaking story, so I don't know if Donald Trump said anything about it, but certainly we could see this happening. We could see it coming. Now, NBC News had interviewed 10 Republican lobbyists in Florida, wrote Dixon and Allen, all of whom said they couldn't remember being solicited for donations so overtly by administration officials, especially at a time when the governor still has to act in the state budget. Most of the lobbyists said that they felt pressured to give to the governor's campaign. And of course they did. The article includes multiple quotes from the lobbyists expressing stress and dismay over the very questionable contribution requests, especially with the use of the bundle code links that would identify which DeSantis staffer would be able to get credit with the campaign. I mean, this is layers upon layers of corruption. Not only, again, do I think that lobbying, anybody is corruption, giving campaign contributions to anyone, their presidential campaign, but this just adds on to it, on and on and on. Staffers who now will get special credit because they work for DeSantis. It's literally his boss or their boss, will get credited for whichever lobbyists they're able to get to donate to his DeSantis presidential campaign. I mean, it's just incredible. It stinks to high heaven. It stinks to high heaven. Wow. Now, one lobbyist summed up the dilemma with this statement, quote, "What the F am I supposed to do? I have a lot of business in front of the DeSantis administration. The practice feeds DeSantis corrupt, swampy meme perfectly for opponents for no effing reason," said one veteran Florida Republican. "Hard to be Mr. Break the Internet and Swamp when you do this. Really dumb. Not just dumb, corrupt. Super corrupt." So this is what fascists do. This is not an accident. This is on purpose. When you're corrupt, you reward your friends and you punish your enemies. We've already seen him do that with Disney. Disney, who, by the way, gave tons of money to DeSantis. Sponsored his inauguration. But since they decided to, in his words, go woke by not hating trans people, he's made it a personal mission to go after Disney. That's what fascists do. And by the way, on rewarding your allies, while he's punishing Disney, he's rewarding Elon Musk and SpaceX. Lobbying in support of a bill that was signed by DeSantis on Thursday is one that shields spaceflight companies from liability after an explosion or a crash that kills crew members. Elon Musk, again, SpaceX, lobbied in favor of that bill, and oh, would you look at that? That bill got signed. Because of course it did. What a coincidence! Huh! But actually not a coincidence, because, once again, Ron DeSantis is corrupt. He is a member of the swamp, and this report proves it, shows it. He's not taking on big corporations unless they're woke. He is a swamp, but he's actually worse. Again, while Donald Trump is personally corrupt, as I've talked about many times, the only thing that Donald Trump wants to do is take money, public money, and put it into his pockets. That's been the entire thing, the entire grift. Ron DeSantis is doing something worse. He's building a corporate alliance by using these kinds of pressure tactics. He's trying to scare his opponents. Hey, if you don't support me and my goals in my campaign, then I'm just going to destroy your budget. I'm going to destroy your pet projects. I'm going to make sure you don't get any money from the budget. Doesn't matter if it's going to help Floridians. Doesn't matter if it's going to help jobs. Doesn't matter. You didn't give to my campaign. You didn't support me. And therefore, you're done. We're going to make room for someone who will. That is absolute personal corruption. And again, it's exactly what fascists do. Okay. Business as usual, says Gato Man 196. Yeah. But now we know. Let's move on. Fox host Greg Gutfeld thinks it is perfectly okay for a teacher to have sex with her 16-year-old student.
This 38-year-old math teacher in California was once named Teacher of the Year, and I support that, was arrested and booked into jail for allegedly having sex with a 16-year-old male student. She's posted bail, but this is what bothers me. Why
the fact that she had sex with a student?
No, that she went to jail for it. I'm sorry. Come on. 16-year-old dad would have died for that.
Wow. Okay. Now, just in case you didn't think that Fox hosts could get any creepier, they do. Wow. Now, looking at this in context. While the right wing is having discussion about how drag queens and members of the LGBTQ community, gay people, trans people specifically, are groomers and pedophiles coming after your children, Greg Gutfeld is saying to a 38-year-old woman that went and had sex with a child, a minor, totally fine. In fact, I'm jealous. I'm envious. Huh. It's beyond words.
Oh my God, he admitted.
But again, I wanna show you another video here. So that's Gutfeld's reaction, and the other male members on the panel. Again, one of them tries to say, well, I'm not defending this, but I just don't think it's quite the same as if, for example, a male teacher did the same thing. That would be different. Yes, it would be different, but not fine, but different. Not the same thing. But let's hear from the women on the panel.
I am vehemently against banging kids.
That's okay. This is why. Okay, can we live in the real world?
I can't believe how many times I've had to say that just sitting in this chair.
No, let's live in the real world,
Actually,
Kat.
I've never had to say it any other time.
A 16-year-old boy. Okay, 16-year-old boy with like a hot teacher. I mean, what was the Van Halen song? Hot for Teacher. Yeah. That was written about this. Am I right to say that it is an unfair comparison to do the female to male teacher, like a male teacher, 38-year-old, creepy, female, heroic?
Yeah, well, unless, of course...
You're disgusting.
Would you be okay with it if she self-identified as 16?
Yeah.
No.
I agree with Kat. Like, you shouldn't. The idea that a teacher is sleeping with such a young student is just wholly inappropriate.
I don't condone it. I just envy it. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, why not me?
Well, there it is. There it is. What? Why is it not me? Wow. No, what this is, it's that it's wrong no matter what. In every situation, it is wrong. Is it so difficult to be consistent? Logically consistent. Again, if your main thing is we have to stop the trans people that are being the groomers and they're grooming our children, you also can't be like, oh, yeah, that 38-year-old woman having sex with that 16-year-old boy in the class. Way to go. Way to go, buddy. No, it's not consistent at all. But see, they don't have to be logically consistent or consistent at all. By the way, it's not that they are actually going after groomers. Again, if they were going after actual groomers, then they would be talking about the Catholic Church. They would be talking about the vast majority of white cis men who happen to be the ones that are predators, sexual predators. Now, in some cases, in this case, for example, happens to be a woman. Yes, there are women that can be predators as well. Yes, there are women that can be pedophiles as well. There are women that can be groomers as well. It doesn't happen as often as white cis males, but it does happen. And guess what? Those women should also be treated the same way as other predators, because a predator is a predator. It doesn't matter. There is no difference and should be no difference in the law. It's statutory rape. That's it. Doesn't matter if it's a male fantasy. That's a fantasy. This is reality. In reality, it is rape. That's it. A 16-year-old is not able to consent with a 38-year-old. If you're going to try to do this weird double standard because you wish that it's happening to you, that's just gross. It's just gross. And again, aside from the age difference and the fact that, again, you can't consent if you're a minor, there's also the issue of a power imbalance. Here you have a teacher, a person in a position of power with a minor. It's just wrong. And again, there's the hypocrisy, which is the worst thing. The right wing is crusading against transgender people, calling them groomers, pedophiles, etc., saying that they're the ones that are having sex with children. But yet, again, when an adult cis woman has sex with a minor, they defend her. Now, and again, they admit that, of course, if it was a man, then it would be creepy. But if it's a woman, then she's a hero. No. Look, the entire we hate groomers discourse bullshit going on the right wing is just that. It's bullshit. Gutfeld is not able to take a principled stance for 2 seconds at all. Again, at least the women on the panel did, and good for them. And again, but you point out sexism as well, members of the chat. You're right. This is a sexism on display as well. You see, a woman can't ever be a predator. It's always the man, right? It's always the man that's the predator. But when it's a woman, then of course, that's the hero. That's the male fantasy. No, it is total sexism. And again, that weird double standard that we have. But as far as the crowd goes, the people in that crowd that were cheering, they're telling you exactly who they are. They don't care about protecting children. They never did. The whole point here is to eliminate transgender people from existence. They continue to admit it, that that's what they're doing. That's the only reason that now they're claiming to be against groomers and pedophiles, is just to, again, go after trans people by falsely equating them to being the predators. They're not. They're often the victims. It's not just a Catholic church. I know, but currently a lot of them are in the church. A recent report out of Illinois shows that the diocese had known about it and abused since 1950 over 2,000 children. Or nearly 2,000 children. And it is, again, a lot of religions. All right, let's move on to an actual principled Republican. Whoa. Weird. A Louisiana Republican state senator is getting attacked by members of his own party for doing the right thing. Wow. So let me get to the details. Senator Fred Mills on Wednesday broke with this party to kill an anti-trans bill that would ban gender-affirming care for minors. Based. Wow. So now the bill would have banned hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and gender-affirming surgery for trans minors. Now, the bill had passed the House and was up before the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. Mills happens to be the head of that committee. Mills joined all 4 Democrats in voting to defer the bill. So deferring the bill, basically in, the process speak, whatever, it kills it. It killed it for the rest of the year. It has been tabled. It's not going to be brought back up. Now, Louisiana is currently the only state along the Gulf Coast that allows for gender-affirming care for minors. So, now, what changed his mind? Facts. I know, right? What? Mills explained that part of his decision was based on testimony that he had heard from medical professionals. So, originally he went into it and saying, look, I don't know what way I'm going to vote. I want to hear from the experts first. And so they brought in experts to testify. And, he went along with them. Mills, health professionals widely acknowledged during the hearings that gender-affirming care decreases levels of anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation in LGBTQ minors. They also noted that doctors generally don't recommend surgery for people under age 19, and a Louisiana Health Department report found that no Medicaid recipients had received gender reassignment surgery in the state between the years of 2017 and 2021. A child and adolescent psychiatrist testified in the committee about the standard procedures already in place for gender-affirming care. Turns out you can't just go and say, give me hormones. No, you have to go through a process. It's a very long process. And that same psychiatrist testified that many of the medications used for trans care are proven safe and used to treat other unrelated issues. And apparently, again, all of these facts broke through, and Mills voted the correct way to protect trans kids. That is amazing.
Amazing.
I'm literally floored. This is a great story because the guy listened to reality and facts and was swayed by reality and facts. Turns out rational Republicans, they do exist. Wow. Now, here's what he also said at the time. Quote, always in my heart of hearts have I believed that a decision should be made by a patient and a physician. I believe in the physicians in Louisiana. So that right there, I mean, again, that's what we want here. In these decisions, yes, it should be a patient and their doctor, not having big government step in and say, no, you can't do this because we don't like you. He also said, I believe in the scope of practice. I believe in the standard of care. So now, of course, as a result, the anti-trans far right has come after him because, of course, I'm going to give you some statements here. For one, Greg Price said that Mills has, quote, received massive contributions from Big Pharma, who make all this money giving these drugs to our children. So wait a minute here. First of all, that's misusing a very real argument. And that argument, of course, is that Big Pharma does donate to a lot of politicians. Yes. So that's pretty much every politician on both sides of the aisle gets tons of money from pharmaceutical companies. Now, Mills is also a pharmacist. So now that means he's close to the industry. And of course, he's going to receive money from the industry. That makes sense. Now, as a leftist, that bothers me because if I had it my way, I would get rid of all private donations from corporations and industries. Just get all the private money out of politics. That said, on the issue here of trans healthcare, the money doesn't look like it had anything to do with it. So, as I said, on issues like vaccines and gender-affirming care, like, again, hormones and puberty blockers, is it true that the companies are making so much money off of selling these drugs to kids? No. In fact, most of the money that goes to these pharmaceutical companies, they make it from drugs like biologics, for example. Things that don't have generic versions to them. Things that they can hold on to the patents for 40 to 100 years at a time. So that means no competition. One example is Humira, which treats types of arthritis, as well as ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. In fact, some of the most, again, expensive drugs and drugs that make the most money for the pharmaceutical companies are those types of drugs that, again, treat diabetes, high cholesterol, UC, Crohn's, and, again, arthritis. So they're not making the vast majority of their profits from giving hormones and puberty blockers to children. The idea that Big Pharma is basically getting obscenely rich trying to trans your children is just absurd. It's just not, it's not correct. It's incorrect. Big Pharma gets a lot of money because our stupid patent laws that kill competition. And of course, you have the fact that the government is not allowed through Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices. That is the major issue here. And the fact that we do have a privatized pharmaceutical industry, which I don't believe should exist. So on this issue, I don't think that the legal bribes that he gets from this industry has had an impact on his decision. I think him believing in the science does. He said, quote, "My decision was really based on the numbers. All the testimony I heard by the proponents that children are being mutilated, I didn't see it in the statistics." Well, that's because it doesn't exist. It's not real. It is again, a made-up assault meant to go after transgender people to erase them from existence. That is the whole point. So now that's Greg Price, but also Matt Walsh went after him as well. He said that Mills, quote, sided with the butchers and groomers and predicted that it would end the senator's career. Well, he's already hit term limits, so he's not going to run for re-election. He's term limited out. Maybe he can run for a different office, but I mean, I guess Matt Walsh, you won on that one. Wow. Now, that said, speaking about Matt Walsh, this is a guy who talked about how 16-year-old girls, how fertile they were. and how that's the best age to go and knock them up. A man who is also obsessed with trans kids' genitals. Constantly thinks about them, talks about them all the time. Now, as far as those attacks, though, Mills doesn't care. He said, quote, "Why should I care? They don't live in District 22. They don't have a 337 area code. I didn't run for office to serve those people." Gotta like that. Gotta appreciate that. Now, I said that there's attacks, but he actually got some support as well. In fact, since then, he said many of his colleagues have thanked him for his decision, including even other Republican senators that are not on the committee. So you have other Republicans as well, in Louisiana of all places, saying, "I'm glad you didn't go and attack trans children by banning this care. That actually helps them." That gives me a little bit of hopium. Let me tell you what, at the end of the day, you got to give him credit for doing the right thing. We don't agree on a lot politically, as far as, economic positions especially. But in this case, huge credit. In too many instances, Republicans, elected officials, tend to do the wrong thing. Because you have so many in the base that have made the elimination of transgender people their number one goal. But so to see that, we have a small victory here, and you have some Republicans that actually do believe in the science and follow the science and actually care about trans children and are actually willing to vote against these horrific bills. Well, I mean, that just gives me, again, a little bit of hopium. Walsh is an idiot. Agreed. Moving on. Let's get to the last story here. I'm just kind of zooming right through them, but it's Friday. Is this the end for Texas's Republican Attorney General? Maybe. We have word that Ken Paxton is about to be impeached by Republicans. So now, in a unanimous decision, a Republican-led House Investigative Committee has recommended impeachment for Ken Paxton. Wow. Now, this would be on 20 articles, including charges as such as bribery, unfitness for office, and abuse of public trust. So I'll get into more of the details here. But first, the Associated Press notes that Paxton has been under FBI investigation for years over investigations that he had used his office to personally help a donor. He was also separately indicted on securities fraud charges in 2015, and he was accused of defrauding investors in a tech startup, and he has yet to stand trial. So the year prior, in 2014, he admitted to violating Texas securities laws over not registering as an investment advisor while soliciting clients. So Ken Paxton has a huge history of corruption. Unsurprising. And yet, again, he is Texas's top attorney general. I mean, wow. So now, let me give you more details to what he's alleged to have done. He had also opened a legal defense fund and accepted $100,000 from an executive whose company happened to be under investigation by Paxton's own office for defrauding Medicaid. Wow. And an additional $50,000 was donated by an Arizona retiree whose son Paxton later hired to a high-ranking job. Now, of course, that that new hire did not last long because he tried to make a point by displaying child sexual abuse images in a meeting. Why? What are you doing? What is going on here? But it's not just those things. His relationship with another wealthy donor, an Austin real estate developer named Paul, that is one of his biggest concerns. In fact, several of Paxton's top aides in 2020 had reported him to the FBI, saying that they had become concerned that the Attorney General was misusing the powers of his office to help this real estate developer over unproven claims that there is a conspiracy against him to steal $200 million of his properties. Now, the FBI ended up searching Paul's home back in 2019, but he's not been charged, and his attorneys have denied wrongdoing. Paxton also told staff members that he had had an affair with a woman who, it later emerged, worked for Paul. Now, the allegations include attempting to interfere in foreclosure lawsuits and improperly issuing legal opinions to benefit said donor, and firing, harassing, and interfering with staff who reported what was going on. The bribery charges stem from Paul allegedly employing the woman with whom Paxton had an affair with in exchange for legal help, and Paul allegedly paying for expensive renovations to Paxton's Austin home. So this is just a litany of corruption. There's a lot there. A lot of charges, a lot of allegations against, again, Texas's top cop. Very likely is a criminal. Are we surprised? No. Of course not. And what also is not going to be surprising is who he blames for this. Well, it would be the left. Yes. Those dastardly
pink-haired communists
have come for him, he says. When the 5-member committee's investigation came to light on Tuesday, Paxton suggested that it was nothing more than a political attack by the House's liberal Republican Speaker, Dade Phelan. He's a Republican, but no, Rhino. He then called for Phelan's resignation and accused him of being drunk during a marathon session last Friday. What is going on in Texas? He also said, quote, "It is a sad day for Texas as we witness the corrupt political establishment unite in this illegitimate attempt to overthrow the will of the people and disenfranchise the voters of our state." Paxton has been trying to disenfranchise voters all over Texas. Seriously. He also called the committee's findings on Thursday hearsay and gossip, parroting long disproven claims. By moving against him, Paxton says the rhinos and the Texas legislature are now on the same side as Joe Biden. Isn't it amazing? They do all this alleged crime, and then when they're caught by members of their own party, they're like, somehow it's the left.
Obama.
It's their fault. The rhinos are all against me. No, you're the criminal. I'm not the criminal. You're the criminal. No. But pretty sure it's you that is the criminal here. And look, Republicans might actually hold him accountable by expelling him. We have yet to see, but we'll see. According to the Associated Press, it's unclear how much support Paxton actually has in the Republican-dominated House. Again, because you have more Republicans there out of the 150-member Senate. You have 85 Republicans, 64 Democrats. We'll see what happens there. It requires a 2/3 to remove him. But yeah. Now, as far as how many Republicans are openly supporting Paxton, so far, none of Texas's other top Republicans have issued any sort of voice of support for Ken Paxton, at least on Wednesday. So it could be that he's done. Maybe. I'm not going to say he's done yet. But that said, unlike in Congress, impeachment in Texas requires immediate removal from office until a trial is held. So he could still end up not being in charge, even if he's found not guilty. Interesting. Republican Governor Greg Abbott could appoint an interim replacement. Now, let's get into more of the people who basically reported him to the FBI, because I think that's interesting. So 8 of his aides, former aides, reported him for, all these different shady dealings. Now, 8 of them, all 8 of them either were fired or had quit. 4 of them ended up suing Paxton under Texas's whistleblower law. And Paxton eventually had to settle for $3.3 million. Now, they haven't received that money because the Texas House has to approve the payout. Again, the Republican-controlled Texas House has to approve it. Phelan says he doesn't think the taxpayers should foot the bill, and I actually agree. If you're gonna, make this guy pay, it should come out of his personal accounts and not out of the state. Now, shortly after that settlement was reached, the House investigation into Paxton had began. And of course, now we have the 20-count impeachment charge. Now, how likely is impeachment? I don't know. I mean, it's not like these allegations haven't been around for years. They have been. And Texas Republicans did nothing. But then, the new information about the donor could be the proverbial straw on the camel's back. So I don't know. That said, this committee was majority Republican, 3 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and there was unanimous agreement that they believed that Paxton did all these crimes and is an absolute crook. But again, it is going to be up to now the Republican House, which again, you need 2/3 of the 150-member Senate, and one of the senators happens to be Paxton's wife. Oops. So I don't know. If we get into a situation where she ends up somehow being a tiebreaker, that's going to be disastrous. I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll see whether or not enough Texas Republicans care about law and order and actually fighting against real corruption, or if they don't. All right. Interesting story. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's it. That's all I got for stories today. Damn, that hour went fast. Okay, so let me read some super chats before we head out, and Twitch comments as well. Tyler Hackner says, drain the DeSantis swamp. Trump, use that. Might not use the DeSantis. We gotta drain Ron DeSanctimonious from the swamp. He's the biggest swamp master. Very, very corrupt. I don't know if he'll say that. But he's calling him Rob. It's really weird. Rob DeSantis now. Rob DeSanctus. I don't know. Some people are thinking that DeSanctimonious has grown on them. It is not. It's still incredibly clunky, and I hate it. But whatever. I guess if you use it with a particular cadence, like DeSanctimonious, then it kind of works. I don't know. We'll see. DeSanctus makes me think of DeAnus, and I don't know why.
Sexual anarchy?
No, that's not it. Meatball Ron. What about Puddin' Ron? Puddin' Ron's all right. Jonathan Leiter says, Friday is low rent day. Give $2, Jeff. Worth it. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. I'm
not worth your McDonald's money?
Well, apparently I was. So thank you. I appreciate that. Rob has been attributed to him wanting to rob his constituents. That makes sense. DeSanctimonious as shit. Yeah. The Chibs, thank you for being a member, says, should I use my stoned mile to say hello from Scott from the Chibs. I'm not quite sure what you're saying. What's a stoned mile? I don't know. But okay. Paxton is gone. Republicans are leading the impeachment Saturday at 1 p.m. He'll be going to jail for life. Oh, that would be a great update on Monday. So we'll see that happening. We'll see if that happens. Then we might actually get to say,
ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
No, not yet though. Tomorrow. Except that I'll be reporting on it Tuesday. Gabby Mathis for the very kind super chat says, I don't trust any Republican nor corrupt Democrat. Sorry, guys, my eyesight is going. Look, yeah, I understand. Totally. But we just heard it. Yeah. Again, I don't know for sure. They actually have to do the vote first. All right, let's go to Twitch here. Two Man Tim. Oh, sorry, that's kind of old on that one. All right. So that's it. Thank you all. Have a great holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Yeah, we'll see you back here on Tuesday. Enjoy your additional day. Love you all, and remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation.
I will eat your ass. Disappointed!
Fired! Fired! Peachtree dish.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of bees.
Wet ass P-word. It's like a shark, NATO, except with poop.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who can.